All right, attempt. We're about to get into a bunch of fun stuff. Attempt, yay. And then we're going to do conspiracy and complicity. So, under the MPC, you can punish attempt exactly as you would punish the actual crime. And under the MPC, the mens rea is the mens rea of the statute. It's a little difficult when it comes to attendant circumstances, but the rule we're going to follow here is that if it's an attendant circumstance, it's the same as the statute, which makes some amount of sense. That is the entirety of the mens rea for attempt under the common law. It just transfers right over from the statute. Oh, also, you can't attempt to be reckless or negligent. Do note that. Does that make sense? You can't attempt to be reckless because you can't attempt to avoid a substantial risk. You kind of either hit it or you... Sorry, you can't attempt to not hit a... See? It's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense. You can't attempt to be negligent. You kind of either are or aren't. Kind of doesn't have to do with, So yeah, no, you can't attempt to be reckless or negligent. That's just the rule. It's kind of hard to explain how you can't because it's kind of hard to explain how you can. So yeah, you can only, knowingly or purposely. And even then, you can only really purposely attempt something. I guess you can knowingly, but it's kind of hard to do that. Even that's kind of borderline. So... but yeah, that's the attempt. The common law has two different tests. There's the proximity test, how close you were to actually doing it, and then there's the unequivocally, you took an unequivocal step towards it. We, under the MPC, we love the, one moment please, we use the substantial step test, i.e. Conduct constituting a substantial step towards the commission of the crime that is strongly corroborative of the actor's purpose. Here are some substantial steps that are per se, under the MPC, guaranteed to be a substantial step. Lying in wait to commit the crime, highway robbery, you're waiting there with your guns. Enticing the victim to go to the crime scene. Say you were planning on doing a funny mouse trap. You had a big mouse trap and you're going to trap them under the mouse trap and it was going to be funny and you had cheese. You were trying to entice them towards the mouse trap. Reconning the scene of the crime. That is a weird spelling of the word reconning, but yeah, reconning the scene of the crime. If you're going to the scene of the crime, you're going, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. There you go. Unlawful entry. If you enter into a place to steal something, you've just attempted to burglarize, even if you get caught. And if you possess the materials for the crime, say the crime is making a big explosion, and you possess the explosives. You attempted to make the explosion. That is strongly corroborative of your attempt to make the explosions. Mind you, the explosives need to be illegal in and of themselves, because obviously that would outlaw their ownership. But one thing to note, having a gun is not dispositive. Even if you're actively planning a murder, you have not attempted murder even if you own the gun. Why? Because you can own a gun. There you go. You can own a gun. You're allowed to do it. That's the law here in America. Again, feel free to hop into my comments and argue about that. But yeah, that's the actus rea limits on attempt. You have two defenses for attempt. And hey, it's impossibility time if you're watching these videos in order and you're like, wait a minute, you said you were going to talk about impossibility. Here we are. Impossibility, there is impossibility of law and impossibility of fact. Impossibility of law is a defense. Mistake of law is not. Mistake of fact is a defense. Impossibility of fact is generally not a defense. That's right. It's nonsense. Real quick, impossibility, only a defense to attempt. Why? Because if you've committed the crime, you've proven it's not impossible. So, it's only a defense to attempt. I don't think my professor just out and said that, which is kind of obvious if you think about it, but you do have to think. Some people don't do that, myself included. So, impossibility of law. That basically just means that this wasn't illegal. If I had completed my grand master plan of wiping my butt, I have not completed a crime, even if I think it's a crime to wipe my butt. It's not a great example, but it's illustrative. Whereas, impossibility in fact, say the crime was, you can't attempt to assassinate Superman. Well, if I didn't have any kryptonite, I wasn't going to succeed. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There is one other kind of impossibility, inherent impossibility, which is I was trying to do something so ridiculous that even if it's literally impossible for me to have gotten to my final results. Voodoo. If I wanted to murder someone with voodoo and I tried for hours and hours and hours, it didn't work. I can try that defense. Judges are allowed to kind of take it into consideration, basically. It's not a real defense. Let me see if I missed anything important when it comes to impossibility. Yeah. They only recognize pure legal impossibility under the MPC. Yeah. And then there's the renunciation defense. Basically, if you decide, I do not want to be a criminal, I've decided not to murder this person, you did it! You have found your defense. However, you better have actually meant it. You better not have been, like, about to get caught by the cops and been like, getting caught sucks, I'm leaving. No, it needs to be, I truly changed my heart, changed my mind, I abandoned, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a bad guy. The case that's kind of, that gets brought up is this guy was halfway through breaking into a bank and just leaves the apartment he was using to break in and never comes back. Cops find all his materials he was using and they arrest him. He was tried at common law, and so he was found guilty because, yeah, you stopped your attempt, but you still attempted. Whereas under the MPC, he would have had a defense because he left. He left all his stuff there for months. And, like, he just chose, he clearly abandoned the property. It was no longer something he wanted, and, yeah, he renounced. And that's good. That should be a defense. People think about committing crimes. People take steps towards committing crimes. I'm already hesitant to punish incomplete attempts, but, if you renounce an incomplete attempt, yeah, that should be a defense. All right, that's attempt.